If you want to know what this show is all about, this is the episode to watch. A packed Thursday show. We bid farewell to the player who was the most important player on the most important night in franchise history. We preview the Friday night preseason opener, and we crown the official Camp Crush of the summer. Coming up next on the PHLY Eagles podcast. And welcome to a very special episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast on this Thursday, 2 o'clock, a packed show. Nick Foles has announced his official retirement. We'll talk about that with a man who has written 2 books in which Foles plays a significant role. We'll talk about that. We have the preseason opener to preview. How will the weather affect the Eagles' decision-making in that game? Zach and I are going to go back and forth and preview the things that we are most looking forward to. And of course, we have not only the official unveiling of the Bo Wulf Camp Crush. Who will the baton be passed to on this unbelievable lineage of over success? We also have a very special announcement for the sickos especially, and that'll come at the end of the show. Zach, how you doing? Fired up to be here.
I'm excited for the show. This is a packed show. I was talking to you out there about some things to add to the show, and you're like, we're pretty loaded today. When will the Camp Crush be revealed?
I think we'll do the Camp Crush after the first ad reads.
Okay, so
Let's talk Foles in the A block.
Yes.
We'll do Camp Crush in the B block, and then preseason and announcement in the C block.
So you're probably thinking, for those tuning in at home on Eastern time, probably around like 2:18 to 2:22 Eastern time. We'll have good Nick Foles discussion, but really the thing you've been waiting for all training camp coming in about 17 minutes. So the anticipation, I can feel it in the studio.
Do me a favor for you guys in the chat. Do not spoil the men's 200-meter final for me, which happens at 2:30. I'm going to watch that when we're done with the show. Just a little. You know, we do so much for you. Yeah. Just a little favor from you to us.
Real helpful to the audio listeners as well.
Well, yeah, they don't have to worry about it, but I'm concerned. I want to know.
So Nick Foles,
Zach, give me the news dump, and give me the unpacking.
Nick Foles, who did not play in the NFL last year, but had not announced his retirement.
That's why I think that this is a little bit anticlimactic. This is not like Jason Kelsey announcing his retirement, but it's still a nice thing to offer an opportunity for reflection.
Yeah, officially, he announced his retirement today in a post on social media. You can see it was a video of him explaining it. The Eagles will honor Nick Foles, and he'll officially retire as a member of the Eagles Week 2 against the Atlanta Falcons, so that Monday night game.
Why do you think it's not the Doug game, which is also a primetime game?
I guess they want to get it sooner, as soon as they could. But a home opener, and of course, the Atlanta home opener, that's what it was following the Super Bowl, right?
There you go. That's true.
So he'll get his day in the sun. The Eagles are...
I mean, it's a primetime game.
This night in the sun. The Eagles put out...
There's still no sun at night.
Okay. It's a figure of speech. The Eagles put out a lot of clips, and Jeffrey Lurie has a statement. This is a big deal. He's one of the most important players in franchise history. He's the Super Bowl MVP, the only Super Bowl they've ever won. He played his best game on the biggest stage. He's iconic in Philadelphia here. There's a statue of him commissioned by Bud Light, but outside the stadium. No player has worn number 9 since he left. I can't imagine a player will wear number 9 again in Eagles history.
You put out the Nick Foles chapter.
I didn't put out the chapter. I wouldn't do that. You got to buy the book for the chapter.
You put out the first
page. It's a long chapter.
I saw some pushback. Why was it chapter 10 and not chapter 9?
I actually didn't even think about the numbers of it. It was done sequentially. So there's executives then coaches, then quarterbacks, and he's the third in the quarterback chapter. Donovan McNabb, then Michael Vick.
Okay, it's chronological. Nick
Foles. So it's done chronologically. Yeah. As I saw people say that, it probably would have been Good Harmony number 9. I didn't think. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't put it out of order.
Maybe I could have structured it so maybe the coaches come after the quarterbacks, and I put a few things in between.
It feels like you did it in a way that makes more logical sense.
I probably should have. I personally, I'll be honest with you, I did not number the chapters when you send the.
Okay.
So I sent the chapters.
You just said this is the Nick Foles chapter.
This is
You ordered it.
They published it as I submitted it.
Yes.
But I did not do chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. I did by sections. So section 1, section 2, section 3. And then I think they put in the chapters thereafter. Anyways, I agree. Relatively anticlimactic, right? It's not like Fletcher Cox or Jason Kelsey in that regard. But everyone in Philadelphia has their Nick Foles story. He's beloved here. I think of Nick Foles both stints. I think of him coming in as a rookie, him taking over for Vic. I think of 2013, that 27 touchdown, 2 interception campaign. I think of 2014, and then the trade in 2015, when you probably provided the best story I know of the trade, when you're working for the team and you find out the compensation and you tried correcting the person.
I really mansplained my boss. It was she told us it's Foles and whatever pick for Bradford, whatever pick.
Second round pick. Yeah.
I was like, you mean the Eagles are getting the pick, right? She's like, no, the Eagles are getting the pick. I was like, no, that can't be right. That's definitely not correct.
And so that, which I think a lot of people,
real a-hole.
I think a lot of people had that reaction though. Then he comes back, and obviously the run in 2017, which, as we've discussed on this show, a little bit, there's some revisionist history here. The locker room did not know that was going to happen, and there was a lot of tight butts, if you will, going into the playoffs that year, because they did not end the season well. Yeah. I know it was before I teamed up with you on the podcast, but you and Shio have a famous show following the 2017 injury to Carson Wentz.
Yes.
And then even the Atlanta game, he did not play particularly well.
Yeah, he looked terrible in the Raiders game at the end of the season, right? And then the first half of the Falcons game, he didn't look good either. Yeah.
No, but even the Cowboys game, if you remember Week 17 against the Cowboys, they played him in the first half, and just to try to get momentum, and it was bad. They didn't score.
I mean, it was a real talking point.
Exactly.
That would they go to Sudfeld?
I think that was a media
but that was the level of play.
Sure,
it was a reasonable thing to discuss whether that was an option, because that was the level that Foles was playing at the time.
And then talk about a heater, man. Minnesota and
unbelievable,
the Super Bowl, and the way he handled it, the way he played, and then to come back the following year and
do it again,
and do it again. The Eagles, when they put Carson Wentz on ice, they were 6-7 in 2018. The thought was, all right, this is just not our year, and they just go on this. They go on this great run. He's playing out of his mind. I remember that Houston game in particular when he was getting the crap kicked out of him, and goes on and leads them to the playoffs. They beat Chicago, and then the trade. How generous the Eagles were to let him go where he was.
Just the kindness of their collective hearts.
So I always kind of cringe a bit when reporters make it about them, when a guy retires and they're like, this guy always reminds me of my childhood or whatever. But I'll say this.
It's like a shot at me.
No. It's not. No. It's about the players. But because we do try to give some personal insight here. Nick Foles was the first player that I met, first player I introduced myself to when I joined the Eagles beat in 2012. I remember vividly, rookies and selected veterans report under Andy Reid. Outside, so I'm waiting outside the locker room in 2012 at Lehigh, and he walks by, and I introduce myself. I'm Zach Berman from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Great to meet you. I'm covering the team, and I remember talking to the late Buddy Tevens about him because he was at the quarterback, the Foles Passing Academy. But anyways, so I got to know Nick pretty well, and Nick's first stint, the way he thought about Philadelphia, the way everything, the pressure, the market, he did not take it as well the first time as he did the second time. But then even so, he comes back, and again, like, not to make this about me, but like we were on very similar time to our children were our first children were born days apart. We got married around the same time. We were going through some similar life experiences. We wrote a book at the same summer. His book did a lot better than my book. So Nick, I got to know Nick decently, and especially the second time around, I have a lot of personal admiration for him in terms of some of the things he values, the way he is as a husband, as a father, and I'm happy that I'm happy that he gets his career celebrated, because it's worthy of it.
Well said. Yeah, I mean, I would tell you my specific Nick Foles memories aside from him as a player. It was, I think, right before I left, so that was 2014 or 2015, and we had a friend of ours from college who was going through cancer treatments, and the idea was there was a bald cap that was being sent around, and people would put it on and take a picture in front of something cool, and that was part of the whole deal. And I asked Nick if he would put on the bald cap in the Eagles locker room and take a picture. He was very game to do it. He was very touched by the idea.
That's nice. That's really nice.
And not that's a small little gesture of generosity, but it's one, I knew that he would be a good guy to go to, and two, he thought it was cool. And there is
and this was the first stint. This was the first
stint.
Okay.
There is
when he had and he had a lot going on in his personal life at that time that he wasn't really sharing. Yeah.
Nick is very religious, right?
Yes.
The Eagles have had a lot of players who are very religious over the years. This is not specific to the Eagles. There are a lot of people in the world who I think use their religion as sometimes a shield for, well, I can be kind of nasty in my day-to-day life, but I'm going to just sort of, boast this up. Nick, I have never heard an experience or witnessed an experience where Nick was not totally just the nicest guy. And, you and I sort of poke fun at the idea of we don't know these guys.
Exactly.
I don't know Nick Foles that well. But I have been around him enough that it certainly does not seem like an act. This is a guy who I think practices what he preaches.
Well said. And there was, you talk about the first stint. When I say private, he had stuff going on behind the scenes. He documented this in his book, and he later talked about it. His now wife, then girlfriend, fiance, Tori, had a health issue behind the scenes that Nick was very quiet about, and I know because it was the type of thing that some people in the locker room knew, some people in the media knew, and Nick did not want this in the public sphere. And he continued, he was a professional, he continued playing, but this was something that was clearly weighing on him, and it's something that he documented in his book. The anecdote I put out on social media today, I often think about this. So the morning after the Super Bowl, he gives this very good quote. Reuben Frank asked what the public can learn from his story, and he talked about failure, and he focused on failure. And it was a quote that's since circulated, but the context I can add is that 4 years earlier, in 2014, going into the season, I had a conversation with him, and I vividly remember where it was. It was outside. It was the hallway outside the locker room. He right by the weight room. He called me out the chat. He and I were going to talk about this, and the question I posed, because I had just spoken actually to Ron Jaworski the day earlier, and I said, if you're at a dinner table with Ron Jaworski, Randall Cunningham, and Donovan McNabb, what would you ask them about being a quarterback in Philadelphia? And he stopped and he thought about it, and his answer was how they dealt with a bad game, how they dealt with the negativity and the public pressure. And as he was giving his answer there, he said, because we all fail, and I want to know how they deal with failure. And I mentioned this actually to you a few months ago when I was talking about the book and kind of putting some things together, because it's something that was on his mind well before the Super Bowl, and well before, for instance, when he was on the verge of retiring before the 2017 season, and he was out camping or fishing with Evan Moore, his brother-in-law, and and this is something that he had long thought about, and the perspective that he had about football. I love that. I had never heard that story you shared about the locker room and the cap, and that doesn't surprise me because it is true. Bo is right. We don't know these guys. We have interactions with them. You might get to know members of their family, but we don't truly know them. Oftentimes, what you can go off of, though, are the people around him and what people say. And, in the reporting of my book, and I spoke to Jeffrey Lurie, and hearing Jeffrey Lurie is similar to the statement he said today. He talked about like the professionalism, the character that Nick Foles had, and that was that's a reputation that Nick carries with him. In addition to, you talk to the players on that team. I'm sorry,
the
Carson,
hog on that guy.
I didn't say that. No, Carson was more talented than Nick. We can agree with that. That's why the Eagles kept him. But there was a certain confidence that the team had about Nick Foles based on like the way he played, the way he carried himself. He deserves kind of this victory lap, if you will.
What about the Super Bowl run itself, Zach? Having written a book about it, what's your favorite Foles play from that game or moment? What comes to mind?
Probably the flea. People say the Philly special. I do
think that the Philly special is like, Doug gets the credit for calling it, but it was Nick's idea.
Yeah. And by the way, Nick, before every game, Nick always caught passes, right? And I remember before, maybe it was the Falcons game the following year, Nick was like catching passes on the sideline, and I think it was a Monday night game, or no, it was a Thursday night game. And NBC caught this, and people are like, he's working on the Philly special. And no, Nick always caught passes before games. That was like part of his routine. So yeah, he deserves credit for that. And we heard the clip of him.
Yeah, it's a suggestion.
But the flea flicker against Minnesota was just an incredible play. But I think of there's two passes in the Super Bowl. First off, the touchdown pass to Corey Clement.
So good.
was like so well placed. And this isn't like the hipster answer, but you talk to a lot of people about that Super Bowl, and they say the big play in the game.
Fourth down.
And Brandon Brooks talked about this when he was on, was the 4th and 2 to Zach Ertz. And like he threw that to Ertz with like an inch to spare. So that's probably those are probably some of the memories. What about you?
Those are good ones. Yeah, I think I was going to say the Clement one too. Although the Philly special, like
it has to be. Yeah,
it's his It's his idea.
And he wasn't catching it all the time during they practiced that in the ballroom. They didn't want it on tape.
Sure.
And
also the acting job.
Oh yes, exactly.
I mean, he does such a good job. It's like give the guy an Oscar.
Yeah. So by the way, if you haven't seen the interview we did, or I shouldn't even say the interview, it was more the conversation that we had with Brandon Brooks back in March. Check that out. I think it was March, or was it April?
I trust you.
In the spring. Check that out. But Brandon talked about like the Philly special as well. But yeah, I guess you have to think of the Philly special.
Super chat from Arthur Bo Wulf Smith, who says the Eagles are honoring Nick week 2 against Atlanta. Do you guys think anyone wears 9 again for the Birds?
I don't. Josh Sweat asked for it this year, and they said it's not available. So it's been, he left after the 2018 season. The Eagles were so gracious to let him hit free agency that year. So that's 6 seasons ago, and then and so no one's worn it since, and it might
I could kind of see a scenario in which
that gets back
Nick bequeaths it. Like
interesting.
They draft a young first-round quarterback who's worn 9 his whole life, and Nick gives it his blessing.
Okay,
something like that.
Maybe so. Yeah, no worries. Maybe so. That's interesting.
Just an idea.
I don't think Nick. I think Nick wore number 5 when he was at Arizona, which he obviously couldn't wear here. He wore number 9 here. But yeah, no, I don't think they give number 9 out.
How much do you think that Nick Foles' legacy as having won the Super Bowl as a backup quarterback has influenced the Eagles' decision-making at that position?
I
mean, they've always valued it, right?
Yeah, they would like to think so. So actually, so Jeffrey Lurie told me before before the Super Bowl that year, I interviewed Jeffrey in the team hotel in Minnesota, and I talked about this checklist that he had of like tenets for a successful organization. And he said that he later added second quarterback, and he would not call it the backup quarterback. It has to be called the second quarterback, because he talked about how important that was in the organization. And then he emphasized to me like the amount of money that they ate getting rid of Chase Daniel so they can bring in Nick Foles, because there's a lot of teams that would be like, look, we just signed this guy last year. We're not just going to, I think they had to eat $8 million to bring and then pay Foles on top of that, but they wanted Nick in the building. And then, yeah, I mean, clearly since then, if you think they signed Josh McCown, when they were going into it, they wanted Nate Sudfeld. Sudfeld got hurt that year. They brought in McCown. They signed Flacco. They signed Mariota. They drafted Jalen Hurts, of course. So they traded for Kenny Pickett this year.
Drafted Tanner McKee.
Well, that's the thing. There was a 15-step guide to how Howie Roseman should approach the offseason, and one of those is let Tanner McKee compete for the backup quarterback job. But instead, they wanted to trade for Kenny Pickett based on maybe the preseason last year, which we'll get to.
Yes. Tanner McKee is the perfect bridge from Nick Foles to the next segment, which we will get to after I tell you about our friends at Indeed. We are driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match. And do it with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. And Indeed doesn't need to help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Indeed will help you leverage over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day. Indeed's matching engine is constantly looking and learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/AllCity, all one word. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
I want to tell you about Bet365, because whatever the sport and whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Bet365 is 90 million users worldwide. They have live streams for 780,000 events each year. There's early payout offers across NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB, and Bet365 pioneered live in-game betting, which is always a fun way to bet. Today, Bet365 offers the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. I'm a sportsman, and I can't even think of 78 sports. You can find them all.
Because you don't watch the Olympics.
That is true, yeah. Apparently, I need to know the rock climbing one, right? At Bet365, we don't do ordinary. We believe every sport should be epic. Right now, customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use the code PHLY to sign up. Deposit $10 and claim your offer, whatever the sport, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. They also have great boosts at you can have over 10,000 boosts every month. They boost specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays. Keep an eye out for our custom PHLY bets and boosts. SGP so that same game parlay plus SGP plus allows you to combine most popular markets from selected events across different sports into one big price parlay. So you can be having a football, college football, MLB the same day, combine it all into one big parlay. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up and check out our boosts to see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. You must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help or you can call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. There you go.
Zach,
this is it. This is the moment we've been waiting for ever since you chose 4 of 90 guys last year. This has been something that I've had people come up to me on the sideline say, who do you think the Camp Crush is? We were just at lunch with someone who said, I have 3 ideas for who it might be. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Howie Roseman's tuning in right now and wants to know who is the Camp Crush.
In 2018, on July 27th, after training camp had already begun, the Eagles signed a relatively anonymous wide receiver named DeAndre Carter. He had originally entered the league as an undrafted free agent out of Sacramento State 3 years earlier, after which time he had kicked around the league on practice squads for 3 seasons without ever playing in a regular season game. At camp, his precise route running was a revelation to the keenest observers, and despite his 5'8" frame, he looked like the real deal. The first official Bo Wulf Camp Crush has since gone on to play 94 career games with over 1,200 receiving yards and a series of life-changing contracts. At 31, he remains in the league, starring in this year's Hard Knocks with the Chicago Bears. In 2019, the Eagles entered training camp with a star-studded group of undrafted offensive linemen. Ryan Bates and Nate Herbig were the big-ticket additions, with Keegan Render and Casey Tucker among them. But the powerful hands of an afterthought from Weber State stood out instead. Sua Opeta took the Camp Crush crown and has created a memorable career of his own, playing in 38 games after spending most of his rookie season on the practice squad with 10 career starts. Signed to a nice free agent contract this offseason, he sadly tore his ACL in camp with the Bucs last week, but remains an overwhelming success story. In 2020, the world was in a dark place. It needed a hero. It needed someone with a history of service and a future of bold leadership and perhaps playmaking ability. It needed someone like Elijah Riley. Undrafted out of Army and signed to a guarantee of just $50,000, 7th in his class, far behind 2 other players in the secondary, Riley, to at least one observer, showcased quick twitch athleticism and an understanding of where plays were going before they went there. 4 years later, 4 seasons and 30 games later, we salute Riley's success story as he looks to win a roster spot in camp with the New York Giants. In 2021, another offensive lineman from a small school entered the fray. Kayode Awosika made the transition from college tackle to professional guard with aplomb, displaying his own level of Opetian hand strength and nimble athleticism that made clear to ball knowers his future in the league. Short-sightedly left poachable on the Eagles practice squad, Awosika was identified by the Detroit Lions as a foundational piece in their rebuild. There, he has played in 25 games, emerged as a playoff starter, and thrived just like the Camp Crushes before him. We all have our biases. But in 2022, it served as a wonderful reminder of how special things can be when we look beyond our prejudices. The heart wants what the heart wants, Zach.
Yes, it does.
And 2 summers ago, the heart wanted an overage white safety with a long injury history.
You got to type.
No matter that Reed Blankenship received the smallest guarantee of anyone in his undrafted rookie class, we needed a milk check. Not only did Blankenship ride his instincts and physicality to be the official Bo Wulf Camp Crush, he earned a roster spot, a fill-in starter job for a Super Bowl-bound team. Another overwhelming success story. In 2023, Zach, we presaged the presence of polyamory in the national zeitgeist. The Camp Crush landed 4 hearts. We extended the fling with Reed Blankenship to turn it into a full-on relationship. We were smitten with the forceful power of the young defensive tackle, 60% Moro Ojomo. The playmaking ability and power of Christian Ellis was inspiring, if not religious. And young Tanner McKee first found a home here a year before his push to displace Kenny Pickett as the Eagles' number 2 quarterback. Which brings us, Zach, to 2024. And the truth is, this has not been an easy road. This metaphorical rose is not given lightly and has led to sleepless nights. Over the past few weeks, wandering eyes have ogled everyone on this roster.
Everyone.
Ojimo, Blankenship, and McKee remain deep in our hearts. But if you love something, you got to let it go.
Yes, you do.
There have been fleeting moments of inspiration with PJ Mustafa's force.
Now you're just letting them feel like they were used. And
Andre Sam's instincts.
What could have been.
Sean Stevens' ball skills. And Aneem Dankwa's kick slide.
Flirting with all of them.
Laken Vakalahi may not be Jordan Mailata, but it says here that he will stick around for some time to come. Flirting, maybe heavy petting, has happened with Dylan McMahon.
Okay.
But we fear a redundancy with D-Mac, having already planted our ownership flag on him by inventing him as a prospect during the pre-draft process. There's no need to double down.
You can already claim credit for that.
Yes.
True.
And so, Zach, for some time now, it has been down to 3. Thomas Booker IV, a 5th-round pick of the Houston Texans in 2022. Booker joined the Eagles practice squad last fall. On the field this summer, he has had days in which he was the story. Somewhat undersized, he may carve out a role as a backfield penetrator, but how much do we weigh that he is a 3rd-year veteran playing against what might be a depleted group of interior backups? How do we judge this Booker by his cover?
I see what you did there. And we've already talked about him quite a bit on this show.
E.J. Jenkins.
Is there enough room for 2 EJs?
Undrafted in 2023 as a wide receiver / tight end out of Georgia Tech by way of St. Francis, Jenkins spent time on the practice squad of the Jets, Eagles, and Raiders before returning to the Eagles this offseason. He has made more plays than any non-Dallas Goedert tight end on the roster this summer. But I worry that what I'm attracted to most is his physical connection with McKee.
Gotcha.
Is this jealousy more than love? And then there was Lou Nichols, 7th-round pick out of the Green Bay Packers 1 year ago, who suffered an injury in camp and went subsequently released. Nichols was a record-breaking running back at Central Michigan. In South Philadelphia, he has opened my eyes with his between-the-tackles shiftiness, willingness to drop a shoulder when necessary, and his intermittent bursts of speed. But is this just a false positive because of his punnable name in my search for a Lou World Order? Zach, it is not. Ladies and gentlemen, the official 2024 Bo Wulf Camp Crush. Lou Nichols, will you accept this rose?
Well done. Beautiful writing. Beautifully performed. Julia is clapping. You do have an eye. Lou, I just want to warn you. This is what Bo looks like. Okay. Keep your distance. But, Lou, I just want to compliment you because, as Bo outlined, this does have quite the lineage here. The Camp Crush has, you can go on to contract extensions. You can go on to contracts elsewhere. You have staying power in the NFL. That's a good sign for the 2021 MAC Offensive Player of the Year.
It was really down to 2. E.J. Jenkins was very close. Okay. Plus, I was, the idea of after all of the EJ, then going with an EJ, that was, there was a good bit there.
And You can't resist a good bid.
But and I like E.J. Jenkins. I still do like E.J. Jenkins. I think he's got a real shot to make the roster. I think he probably deserves to be the third tight end as long as he can be an adequate blocker. But Lou, I like a Lou. I think he's gonna pop in the preseason. It is hard to judge running backs. This is, as you can tell, the first running back to ever receive the BWCC.
As an anti-running back guy,
it is tough to judge them without pads, but I think you see with him the wiggle that you need between the tackles in comparison to the other running backs on the roster. And I actually don't dislike a Kendall Milton. I think I've seen a couple little flashes of Kendall Milton, but specifically compared to Tyrion
for you too.
Davis Price, I think Lou, he's not going to be Saquon Barkley, but I think this is a guy who's going to stick in the league.
So Lou Nichols, okay. I always like looking up from the Dane Brugler draft guide because Dane always finds good nuggets here. I'll give Bo a chance to catch his breath. I knew Lou Nichols in the locker room last year when the Eagles signed him to the practice squad. I shouldn't say I knew him. I would pass by him. I would see him.
You Lou him.
He was. But Lou Nichols, before this, okay, 3-star recruit. He's out of Detroit. He went to Cass Tech, which is a really good football program. Okay. He had MAC offers from Akron and Central Michigan. After transferring to Cass Tech, a few SEC programs, including Kentucky and Missouri, came after him. He announced the Final Four after his junior season of Cincinnati, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, and Purdue, but he committed to Central Michigan a few weeks later. He wanted to be a Chippewa. Okay, he started there in 2021, 2022. He was MAC Offensive Player of the Year in 2021 before missing 3 games in 2022 with a toe injury. He was identified as a priority free agent by Dane Brugler. And 5'10", 220, 9-inch hands, 37-inch vertical jump, 22 reps on the bench press.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, I already know him well.
I know the audience doesn't know this information. I'm trying to I'm giving some insight.
All right.
Let me ask you this. I know the Camp Crush is not necessarily indicates whether they'll make the team. It's just your identification of talent. Do you think he'll make the team?
I think he probably won't make the team, but I think there's a case to be made that he should be on this team because, for the reasons we talked about the other day, I think he offers a different skill set than what they have with Kenny Gainwell and Will Shipley. If you need somebody who you can rely on to run between the tackles, I think he can do that. I think he's got a little bit more juice than he's probably given credit for. I would be surprised if they carry 4 running backs, but I think this is a guy who sticks in the league.
Interesting. So he was waived injured in August 2023 and then placed on IR before the Eagles claimed him. Yep.
Correct. And then,
So he's not someone, there's some guys who've been around for a long time for teams to sign. That's not necessarily the case with him. 1 year in the league, was on a practice squad throughout the year.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the future is bright for Lou Nichols. We know that now. And the future can be bright for you too if you do what I did. And that is order some sunglasses from Shady Rays. You can get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style, and they probably have a style in your favorite team's colors. Now, I told you guys that I lost my sunglasses on vacation. I was going to order some Shady Rays, and guess what I did? Ordered 2 pairs of Shady Rays. Got this. I used this promo code, 35% off. I'm loving these. And you know what else happened? When you crossed this little threshold, they offered the opportunity to get another pair of mystery sunglasses for a very reduced cost, it's sort of like a grab bag type deal. And I like those too. Just keep them in the car in case I forget my sunglasses and need them while I'm driving. Got those too. So I'm loving my Shady Rays. I'm excited to go to practice and put my Shady Rays on. It's fantastic. You can be like me. I mean, not in every way, but in this one small way. And you can do that because exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHLY for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
I got a nice note earlier this week about our new friends, Rugged Road. And I saw the cord that they sent. And it's impressive because Rugged Road's dedicated to creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the best. Their products are designed with the highest quality materials and craftsmanship, ensuring they perform in the toughest conditions. Whether you're on land or water, Rugged Road gear is built to accompany you on every adventure. Floatability is part of their pitch. They have one of the most unique features of Rugged Road coolers is their ability to always flow upright, so never lose your drink. That's important to Bo Wulf. Lightweight design. Unlike other heavy-duty coolers, Rugged Road coolers are incredibly light, making them easy to transport on any trip without compromising on performance. That's important to me. Durability and dependability. Crafted to handle the toughest environments, their coolers are built to last, ensuring they can keep up with any adventures. They're guaranteed to keep their contents cool for up to 7 days, but oftentimes much longer than that. That's important for Julia when she goes on long hikes. Versatility, perfect for a variety of outdoor activities from fishing and tubing to camping and tailgating. These coolers are designed to meet the needs of every outdoor or sports enthusiast. So gear up for the next adventure with Rugged Road coolers, reliable, durable, and built to be used. Rugged Road is your ultimate outdoor companion. Head to Rugged Road Outdoors and use code PHLY for 10% off.
All right, Zach, the Eagles open up the preseason tomorrow night in Baltimore at 7:30 p.m. What do you think Nick Sirianni is going to do once he sees what the weather forecast is?
I have been monitoring the weather since yesterday's line of questioning. I don't know if the weather's necessarily going to be the determination here. I think they have an idea for the preseason. I could be wrong, right? This isn't like a sourced. This isn't sourced analysis here. This is more prediction. I don't think the offensive starters play. I think the defensive starters play. I think that they're on defense. They're going to want to work on tackling. They're going to throw one up to Fangio here, who values this. I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to play. I don't think A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith are going to play. I could be wrong, but that's my guess. For the record, in Baltimore, Lamar Jackson is not going to play, just to give you an indication. Okay? So that is my guess of what happens. But I think for fans watching from home, you're going to see like some notable players in this game. You just won't see the superstars, if you will. Okay.
And what about on defense? You do think
I think most of the guys, maybe like they hold back a Slay or a Carter or something like that. But I think I do think what matters in terms of getting work in the preseason, I think tackling does matter. I think that we overstate like the importance of offensive rhythm. If you have one good drive on August 9th, I don't know if that correlates with what happens on September 6th or whatever, right? But I do think because you're not tackling really in camp, you're not tackling in joint practices, I think there is value for the defense to tackle.
Okay. Well, with that in mind, then let's go back and forth. We'll do a little draft of the things that we're most looking forward to. You want to go first?
I'll let you go first. I got a few options here. So.
I mean, the most obvious one to me is the quarterbacks. Let's see what Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee look like. Now, we joke about it, but the weather maybe affects this. Maybe it will be, I would imagine it will be a little bit more run heavy. But Tanner McKee had an awesome preseason last year. What was so awesome was the ball was coming out. He was giving receivers a chance to win. We'll see if he does that again. Kenny Pickett, for everybody who has not been able to see camp, the ball has been coming out slow. There is some arm talent there. He can get out and do some things on the edge, and especially in unscripted ways. But so far, I hear some noise out there. I don't want to know what Chris is yelling about. I think if it goes the way it has gone this summer, McKee will get the ball out quicker and has a better sense of the offense, and Pickett maybe has the ability to make some bigger splash plays.
Yeah, so in Ocean Township right now, they're watching this, and they're saying, you think Tanner McKee had a good preseason last year? Let me tell you about my boy Kenny Pickett. Okay, 5 offensive drives, 5 touchdowns in last year's preseason.
The perfect encapsulation of why the preseason does not matter.
13 of 15, 199 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 13.2 yards per pass attempt, 86.6% completion percentage, a perfect passer rating, 158.
Did he get a trophy?
Did he get a trophy? He got a starting job.
Okay.
Which he didn't keep thereafter. But yeah, so Kenny Pickett could be Mr. Preseason. No, that is on my list of what I'm watching. I will circle back. I mean, even if the high-end players don't play, I think Mekhi Becton's going to play in this game. I'm interested to see Mekhi Becton at guard.
Very important.
I imagine he'll play guard in this game for the first time in an NFL game. I think I agree with the assessment you made yesterday that he is ahead. I don't think this is like a called competition, but I think
it is.
Okay, well, I disagree with that. Reasonable minds can disagree. But I think if Becton comes out and looks good, then that really gives him some distance here. Now, the flip side, too, is Becton has some injury history. If he comes out bulky, that maybe things neutralize a bit. But I do think Becton's going to play, and I expect him to play the interior. And we've never seen that in a live game, and he's going to face some good players in Baltimore.
Next up for me, you talk about the positions that are very difficult to identify and assess in camp. Linebacker chief among them because they're not tackling. I am very curious to see how these guys look. I don't know if Devin White and Zach Bond are going to play. I imagine Nakobe Dean is going to play. Vic Fangio was very candid about saying that Nakobe Dean took a step back when they were at the link the other night. He has struggled, especially in space. He's been a little bit better coming forward. I want to see how those guys do. Can Jeremiah Trotter Jr., do enough that he becomes a real contender early in the season for defensive playing time?
In the Jimmy Kempski stock up, stock down poll, which he posted today on PHLYvoice.com, what he asks media members, stock up, stock down. Who were your
those are anonymous, Zach. That's like asking someone who they voted for. Do you want to tell us? I'll tell you who I voted for stock up, stock down if you tell me your thoughts on the presidential race right now.
I try not to talk about politics on the show, but yeah, I mean, I
actually do. I feel like you got to be pretty excited to have a football coach on the ticket.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I was watching the podcast with him and with the Pod Save America guys, and I loved his breakdown of his defense.
I'm like, you'd eat that up.
Yeah, how he was saying there's not really good passers here. He was trying to be generous with how he ripped on his cornerbacks, but he was talking about his nose guard, and yeah, I like that. And I respect a teacher, and I respect that. So
yeah, I figured you did.
Yeah, so that's cool to see.
I voted Quinion Mitchell stock up.
Okay.
And stock down.
Interesting, Quinion Mitchell stock up. Okay.
Stock down, I think I did Nakobe Dean.
Okay. I did Zach Bond stock up, Anais Smith stock down.
Yeah, I mean, Anais is it's low hanging fruit. I think I might have. I think I might have said him too.
Oh, okay, yeah. Zach Bond was because I did think coming out of the spring, I thought, Nakobe Dean's not fully healthy. Like this Zach Bond thing's cute, but this is passing camp, and then he's been first team every day. So in my eyes, he's the front runner to start.
Yeah, but you are going more based on stock up for how they're being used, not
not for how they're playing. How I see them on the roster. Sure. Okay. I'm being more of a not an evaluator. I'm being like a forecaster reporter there.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, you mentioned Quinion Mitchell. I'm eager to see him in this game. How he's used. Is he used mostly in the slot?
And the reason I'll say the reason I put him as stock up is because I think more than anybody else, he has looked good, and like the fact that they are really trying to find a role for him, and he has looked good in that role. He is going to be the week one nickel if everybody stays healthy. That is what's going to happen. He has looked really good. I think they're very pleased with him, and the fact that he has this versatility, which they may not have known. I think like long term, they're feeling pretty good as well.
Yeah, we don't need to get into the bird lines here because we might be tight on time. But one of the things that I was going to bring up was Quinion Mitchell versus Nate Wiggins, both first round pick corners. I imagine Nate Wiggins is.
You like a Wiggins?
I did like Nate Wiggins. I know that I might have had some Emmanuel Forbes PTSD in terms of like talking about him because I was high on Forbes and Wiggins is light, but I like Wiggins' tape. I liked his age profile. I liked his speed, and I generally trust the Baltimore Ravens when they draft like defensive players. They have a good track record there. Matt Elam aside.
Wow. Or Matt Elam watching this show. Just trying to get away from it all.
Okay.
That's tough.
So I'll just run through this here. Two other quick things I'm watching is Johnny Wilson and Nia Smith. These two
let's see if any of these wide receivers can pop.
Yeah.
I mean, Johnny Wilson is the one to watch, but that would be like, Nia Smith has a real chance. Maybe he's a gamer, right? Yeah. We have not seen his speed and juice show up in camp, but if he does stuff in the preseason, that totally changes the narrative.
Exactly. And then I spoke about this yesterday, so I'll just mention it briefly. But kickoff returns, because Nick Sirianni said in the spring that teams aren't going to show much in the preseason, so you're really going to see this week one how they're going to use it. But I got to think, like, I'm expecting Harbaugh to evaluate this. I don't think every ball is going to be kicked out of the end zone. And in addition, I want to see who they use as returners, who they use, like what their packages are. So I want to see what players are out there in that situation, because it is new. So it's not going to look the way it's ever looked before.
We do appreciate the super chat from Curtis Hawk. Thank you for funding our night out tonight. It's nice. All right, let's go through our bird lines, Zach.
Yep.
Each did 4.
Yep.
I'll go first.
29.5
yards from scrimmage for the Bo Wulf Camp Crush himself, Mr. Lou Nichols.
Let's go with over.
Okay. Well, I got to take over.
Yep.
Okay.
Will Shipley, rushing / receiving yards, 49.5.
Under.
Okay. I'm going to go over.
49.5. Wow.
Okay.
You got a lot of production from the running backs.
Yes.
Okay. I have Tanner McKee, quarterback rating, over under 20 points higher than Kenny Pickett's quarterback rating.
I'm going to go under.
Okay, I'll take over.
Mine, these aren't numbers based. These are like either ors. I don't know if that's in the spirit of bird lines or not.
Jeez, we got to get to this whole thing again.
Most passing yards, Tanner McKee or Kenny Pickett?
I'll say Pickett.
Okay, I'm going McKee.
Okay.
Okay.
Over under 0.5 sacks from the Eagles' backup defensive tackles. So
defensive tackles.
They got to be the tackles. So your Bookers, your Ojimos, your Mustafers, your Tui Pelotus.
Yeah, let's go 1.
All right, I'll take 1 too.
Okay. Quinyon Mitchell snaps or Nate Wiggins snaps?
I think they probably both play 1 series, is my guess.
Oh, really? You don't think Quinyon plays more than that?
I don't think so.
You don't think maybe they'll get Quinyon on the outside for a series just to evaluate him?
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe one on the inside, one on the outside. That's a good idea. So then I'll go Quinyon. How about that?
All right, I'm going to get Wiggy with it. Let's go Nate Wiggins.
Oh, Zach. Finally, some personality.
Finally.
Last one, E.J. Jenkins.
Your boy.
The runner-up. Still a very big fan of E.J. Jenkins. Over under 19.5 receiving yards.
Under.
Over.
Okay. Eagles takeaways plus giveaways versus Eagles touchbacks on kickoffs.
Turnovers.
Okay.
What about you?
Let's go touchbacks.
Okay.
Just to have something else.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So now the announcement time.
The big announcement. Teased at the top. And this is for the sickos. Today is August 8th. Next Thursday is August 15th. The Thursday after that is August 22nd. And on August 22nd, we will have the 6th annual Osprey Awards. August 22nd, put it on your calendars. It's a big one. It's a little bit different. The last ones have been a little bit melancholy. This one's going to be a little bit more of a celebration.
I'm excited. I hope I don't have any assignments. I hope there's no singing assignments for me. But mostly I'm excited for this announcement within the announcement, right? I mean, you said it's a celebration. I want to know.
Is it the 6th? Is it the 7th?
I did 5 with you. How many times did you do it with Shield?
At least
I'm sorry,
one.
I did.
Maybe this might be the 8th. I don't know.
Okay. Do I have to?
We have seen the, if you build it, Zach and I will come. You guys have been asking for it nonstop. We will make it happen.
Any cameos this year?
Oh, it's the 7th. It's the 7th annual Ospreys Awards.
Any cameos this year?
We're not giving anything away.
Okay. Is it going to be 3 hours? This is all I can say, okay? Bo scheduled it for a day when I actually have to catch a flight to a wedding. I can't. I don't think American Airlines will accept the Ospreys as a reason not to get on the flight. I don't think my wife will accept
You haven't tried.
I don't think Emily will accept the Ospreys as a reason why we're missing the flight to the wedding. So I might step out in the middle of the Ospreys, and maybe it'll give me some entertainment on the flight home.
Yeah, I mean, you leave mid-Ospreys, the only thing that happens is we're going to be spending the rest of the Ospreys talking about you.
A funny story, actually. So our GM here, Vince, I was saying I just need to be out that day by 3:30, and Vince is like, "Isn't the show at 2? You're fine." And I was like, "Vince, the Ospreys, man, we've had 3.5 hour Ospreys before." I vividly remember there was one year where we started it, and about 3 hours later, Emily came upstairs. She said, "Are you still on?" I said, "Yeah, I'm still on." Yep.
I think that was the Shield one.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was the 5th annual Osprey Awards.
And that was shout out to our friends at Mount Joy, Matt Quinn in particular, for the time of our life.
Matt Quinn was on last year's Ospreys too.
I know that. Yes, I know that. The Marissa song.
The Marissa song.
Yes.
Everything okay out there? All right. What an episode. What a show. Nick Foles.
Yeah, this was a good show.
Lou Nichols. And the Ospreys are coming. Woo! How you feeling?
Feeling great. Real quick, we should tell the audience what to expect tomorrow, because it is a little different than a normal Friday.
Rain, I believe.
We got to tell Sirianni that. You got to tell Sirianni that. No, we will not be on at 2 o'clock tomorrow.
No 2 o'clock show tomorrow.
Yes.
We have a kickoff show at 7 o'clock. Since it's a 7:30 game, it'll be me and Jamie on StreamYard. Zach's going to be popping in.
I'll join in from M&T Bank Stadium.
From B More.
Yep.
And then the post-game show afterwards. Talk about what we've seen, what we've learned.
Yep.
You can tell us what you've smelled.
Yeah, I can tell you what the weather's like down there.
Yeah.
I can tell you if I'm going to make it home or if I'm going to have to find a roadside motel on 95.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt you're going to have to settle for a roadside motel. I think you could just fire up that Bonvoy app. And
hope so. Yeah, hope so.
Okay.
I don't know if when I gave my travel for the year, if I said I was going to be staying over for the Baltimore game, though. So we got to see how that rolls.
Yeah, I also don't think you gave your travel for the year and thought maybe I'm going to get in a car accident. Like,
no, it's definitely not that either.
Let's be safe.
Yeah, definitely not that either.
Okay. What are your travel plans for tomorrow? How early are you going down?
Yeah, I'm going to go. So you do got to worry about Friday nights on 95, right? But also preseason games, especially when it's raining, you don't want to get there too early because like if they're not warming up on the field, you're just kind of hanging out there. And I am gonna I'm gonna run some errands with my wife tomorrow morning.
Flex.
So I'm probably hitting the road at it's a 7:30 game. I'm probably hitting the road at 2 to 2:30, and try to get down there by 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah, people are asking, am I gonna stop for crabs down there? I love crabs. There are a few crab locations that I like on 95. I don't want to stop for crabs on the way down because then you smell like Old Bay during the game. You don't want to do that. And on the way back, you're looking at like 1, 2 a.m. So the crab joints won't be open. Claire F says train, ZB. I love trains. Okay, don't get me wrong. There's no train from Baltimore at 2 a.m. So or when so the game ends at 10:30.
It's not going to be a 2 a.m. for you.
Well, no, but okay. So the game ends at 10:30. I get up from the locker room at 11:30. I do my 20-minute hit on the show. So now we're at midnight. I got to write, for an hour or so, hour and a half. I post that up on allphly.com. So probably 1:30, 2 o'clock by the time I hit the road. Get home at 4, and get up the next morning. I say watch the film. I don't know how much I'm gonna grind this film for this one, and then getting together with my grandparents. So we'll see. I do want to get back on Saturday.
And of course, everybody remembers last year's preseason game in Baltimore, the site of the famous free balling fiasco.
Site of the famous free. You golfed that day and you didn't have. Okay, yeah. I was wondering how famous it is.
I think everybody remembers that.
Yeah. I do remember I was really tired on the drive back. You were worried I wasn't gonna make it back. I think on our show I was pretty exhausted. I mean, I can say this now. That was a period of time when I was debating, or I shouldn't say debating. I was considering this job, and there was a lot going on kind of behind the scenes. I remember the day of the Ravens game, I was working the phone with the people throughout that day, and then I actually got Malcolm Jenkins' book in the mail that day. I started reading that. So I remember that Baltimore game well.
There you go. Remember Eli Ricks had a pick.
Yes. Pick 6 Ricks.
Yeah, there you go. All right, that'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Make sure that you are liking and subscribing on YouTube. Doing the same thing. Leaving reviews on podcasts, but, don't tell me what you write.
I will read it, though. By the way, someone wanted to know... They said if Zach actually reads this, could you relitigate something on the show? I'm not going to relitigate something on the show.
Jonathan Gannon?
No, it was the peeing, standing up, sitting down thing.
Why not? I thought you'd listen to all the reviews.
Yeah, but I'm not going. I don't think we need to have that conversation again. I think it was more they wanted to know if I actually read the review. Also, there was someone there who said my idea of great journalism is trying to track down a 21-year-old's dinner order. You almost got me. Carson Wentz was 23 at the time, though. So let's okay. So let's look. If you're gonna make fun of me, let's just at least get it right.
Let's be accurate.
Yeah, let's at least be accurate. Yeah. So, and I don't apologize for trying to find details for stories.
Wait, but how old was Kenny Pickett when you went to get his chicken vodka?
23. He was also an older guy. Yeah.
Okay. So you only like old guy food.
Yeah, you don't apologize for. I never apologize for trying to find details. I think details make stories sing. A matter of fact, there's a prominent player in the Eagles who I might or might not know his favorite restaurant and might or might not be stopping by.
Great. All right, that'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. We will talk to you tomorrow for the pregame show at 7 o'clock. Until then, circle August 22nd on your calendars. Get pumped for the Ospreys. And off we go. One Lou over the cuckoo's nest. For all of us here at PHLY, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.